What's up, y'all? Welcome to Shaken and Stirred. I'm your host, Kristin, and I'm joined by Lilla. And today we have our guest, Meredith from Fortify Health Coaching. What's up, Meredith? How you doing?
Hi, guys.
You good?
Like,
I'm good. Everything's good.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good, doing great. I'm nursing some cute little blood blisters on the bottom of my feet from my first 10K this weekend. Wore new shoes and new socks. Shane tried to tell me not to. He did. And I was like, no, but they're so comfy. He was like, okay, check back in with me on mile 4. How comfy. I mean, they're Brooks shoes. I was like, yeah, I'm a runner. I'm a track star. I didn't run. I walked, but I did it. So I did it in like a minute 47 or something, which was, not a minute, an hour 47, which was phenomenal for me. I feel like, hey, speed walking, my big old, up that bridge, the Cooper Bridge run is, for those of you that don't know, it's in Charleston, South Carolina. There's a huge, glorious bridge, but it's a huge, glorious bridge, and you got to get over it. And the theme of the 10K was get over it. So I got over it, and I did it. And yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
It's so fun, though, right? The energy of everybody.
Right.
Because of the bridge for some reason. It's
right.
fun. I did it one time, but yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. But the only thing I will say is the starting of it, because first you're walking like half a mile to even get to where you're waiting to start. And then the starting process, because there was 35,000 plus people, another like 40, like by the time we even got towards the front to start, the people were already finishing. Like the first people. The first guy did it in 28 minutes. He's from Kenya. He ate 28 minutes.
Yeah. They're insane. And they shipped them over here for that race.
He did the race last year and got second place. So this time, right. So, but I'm just happy I didn't die.
My stepmom runs, and she's older, she's 60, in her 60s, but she got invited to run the Boston Marathon like the last 5 years.
Wow.
She's insane. And yeah, it's incredible, actually. And my dad's so cute. He'll be like, y'all, her skin is so soft and so tight. And I'm like,
stop it. Gabe's going to be saying the same thing about you when y'all are in your 60s. So stop it.
Cute, but my dad, no.
It's cute.
I'm happy for him. Meredith, what have you got going on? Did you run a marathon this past weekend too?
Not a runner over here. Not a runner. I would get the shoes though, because I do think the shoes are hella cute, but not a runner. Last 7 days was honestly me back at work from having some time off, which was great. I had a work / vacation situation down south. For those who don't know, I'm actually in Canada. So headed back home-ish down to Florida and met with my business partner, some other friends down there, saw my family, and then came back to a lot of cold snow. So just kind of getting back in the groove of that.
Now, how long will that snow last? Is this the last one of the season? Will you have another freeze?
That's a damn good question. I would have thought normally like March is like that last one more kick. It's like spring and summer though don't really get here till like June. And our first snow is typically in October again. So we have like about 8 weeks of spring, summer. So I'm thinking this has to be about the last one because we're at about 20 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have a ways to go for spring, summer, but people here are crazy. Like, and I'm now one of the crazy people. When it hit like 55 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm like, oh my God, it is so hot. And I'm like, shorts, like when we were down in Florida, it was like in the 70s and we were like, woo, bikini season. So yeah, but no, hopefully this will be it.
Yeah. Hopefully for your sake it is. It's so gorgeous here right now with the rain we just had, and it's so lush and green. I love this time of year.
And it washed some of the pollen away because we have been in a cluster of dust.
Yellow.
Just dust. It's so bad this year.
It's Booger City. You know when it's like your nose is crunchy?
Yes.
In the shower, you take the shower to blow the pollen off of you.
Literally. Yeah.
It's been really bad. We just got back from a race in North Carolina. It was our first race of our PDRA season, which is like our big series that we race. And we broke just about everything that you can break. Our golf cart broke. One of our batteries was messed up. We had to fix that. Danica's motor on her little car wouldn't work at all really like we wanted it to. So a friend of ours let us borrow their motor, which was really awesome of them, but gave her something totally new to have to work with in
Oh
competition.
my God.
And she took it all the way to the third round, which brought her to the top 8, which was awesome.
Wow.
It put her in the top 10 for points for the season so far, which they're all chasing and accumulating points as each race goes by to win the world championship at the end of the year. So that put her in the top 10, which is, they award the top 10. And then she drove her big car, which is, 150 mile an hour in 5.5 seconds.
What?
And she's 17, y'all. I'm just like amazed by how she handles these cars. They're intimidating, but there are a lot of girls that do it and are really good at it. They actually tend to be better at it than the guys. So it's so cool to watch them do it. And then Gabe had his new car for the hemp doctor, which was so cool. We have been I can't tell you how pleased we've been with them as partners, because we have had sponsors that didn't share our content, didn't repost, didn't promote the drivers, and they just have been so good so far. I mean, asking me for videos so they can make content, just really, really good. And we've got them the whole season, so I'm really excited about that. Now we get to be home for a few weeks before we head out. Can I just say it was nuts at the racetrack? I had the magazine sent to the racetrack because I knew I would be there, and I knew that I had to have that link set up to where if you ordered one, it would come straight from them and it would cut down on the shipping time. But it's also saving me from having like 1,000 magazines on hand. But I had to get a bulk order until I had that set up. Plus, I wanted to just have extra, and I need some to be able to take places to sell and drop off and things like that. I needed some on hand. So I had a bunch of them sent to the track. I got them all ready to go. I took them to the post office, mailed them from North Carolina, got everything straight. They had their little packages with the little postcard in it, little magazine. It's really cute. It's the cover of the magazine and then one of the inside pages with a quote, just as a little reminder, like if they want to give it to somebody or what have you, or just put it on their mirror in their bathroom. I love little things like that. And then I knew coming home everybody would be getting them. Y'all, I'm getting the messages. I'm like so excited. I think it's so cool. And everybody likes it. I haven't heard from like my older aunts and just like the older women in my life that would have bought it, because there were a few. I basically harassed my entire family by group mass text to go purchase this magazine because
It's
y'all,
super good.
Literally a book. It can sit on your coffee table and for like forever. The topics in it they're so perfect. I mean, it is so perfect. Quarterly, like everybody understood the assignment. I love it. There was only like a couple of little tweaks I had to make, and it was because I hadn't been communicative enough or explanatory enough about what we were looking for. But now that we got all that ironed out, I feel like just be popping them out.
Right. I feel like the next one's going to be super, like so much easier for you, and everybody knows the vision, everybody sees it. And I think it's just going to be so much more seamless. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We're just going to be knocking them out, girl.
Well, I think too, now it will be, now that the girls see it, if they have a product or a service or a campaign, like the girls from Holy Fueled have their Bikini Bod Blitz that they're launching. And I don't know what you guys know about their program, but it's really cool, actually. Lauren is an IFBB figure pro and has been for a couple of decades now. She has owned True Fit Gym, chain of gyms in North Carolina for over a decade now. She's got boys. She rides horses. She's been a nutritionist for like 20 years. She's a medical massage therapist she has that background. Just a very intelligent, medically minded woman. And she knows how to relay it to people. But her partner is a former chef. So I say former chef. She's a chef that's been on like TV shows, America's Food Network, things like that. America's Top, things like that. I don't know what the names of those shows are. She's been on them and she's really talented. And together, Lauren tells her what she wants on the menu for the season, what's in season, what's local to our area and, like the Southeast. And then Taylor puts it all into a meal plan that can be made within an hour and a half. Like you get the whole week in an hour and a half. And they mean that. Like, you could set a timer. It's really cool. So they're just about feeling good, moving, and motivating and inspiring women who have busy schedules. And they have really broken that down. They allowed them to promote their launch. Like, they have a launch in September. So I told them, let's make a campaign around it and time that with the magazine. Same with Meredith. If you and Sarah had something coming up, a retreat, a seminar, whatever it is, we could plan it, you know, based on when these are coming out, and then promote them all at the same time so that it's double the content pushing your campaign or launch without it coming from you directly, because people like that second opinion or third opinion or referral or whatever the case. I vouch for you, you vouch for me. And it's kind of also what I was talking about in the beginning, not joining a BNI group. Like, I'm not going to go. What did I tell you in the beginning, Lilla? I wanted to do this to be able to hang out with all the people I thought were badasses. Like, you are who you hang out with and who you're around. So I just like handpicked you ladies. It worked out so perfect. And Meredith, we've got to talk about our background, because Meredith and Lilla and I have all known each other for like over 30 years. I think I did the math.
Y'all, like,
you figure sixth, 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
So, which I think is awesome.
Right.
It only makes me sad and cringe, because it's been so long, and it's just like that hourglass, y'all. I just want as time as possible. Gabe's always talking about being a vampire. I'm like, look, you better bite me soon, bitch, because I am ready. Don't play me. So Meredith, Lilla, Kristin, Sadika, Turpin is her married name. We all went to school together. It's a very like sentimental, special aspect of the magazine for me. And I think it could not have worked out any more perfect. I've watched Meredith and what she was posting for years now, and just how intelligent, and you relay the information that is medical and scientific in a way that's bite-sized and easy to understand. And sometimes it's so overwhelming, especially being a woman with so many parts, and people expect you to know what's going on with your body like all the time. They think it's okay to ask you questions like, oh, are you on your period? Like, what?
Or when are you having kids? Or why don't you have kids? Or you go to a male doctor and they're like, oh yeah, well, yeah, there's really nothing you can do about what you're going through. Women just go through it and you just deal with it, And it's like, I feel like as women, especially as we move from our 20s, then into our 30s, these new things arise, and then into our 40s, 50s, whatever. There's just so much, number one, misinformation out there. There's so many doctors that don't get it and don't care to. Mr. John, the doctor down the street, probably doesn't care about my hormones. He's going to get paid and he's going to give me some patch or something and tell me this is life and this is what's going to happen. And I think it's so important for people like you to be there and just explain. And women, I know I can go to your page and get information directly from someone who's been through it, who knows what they're talking about, who has the background and who has the passion for it, because you are a woman and you can relate. So I think it's incredible what you're doing, and it's just
my God, the hype is real. Thank you so much.
It is.
Thanks. I could not have said it any better as far as like, I think how women are treated and the things that they go through. And something we were actually talking about before we started recording there is, what our parents and what they went through as far as like, even just like childbirth. And, we said they were like such thugs, and they were, and they are, but then there's also this other kind of spin on it, is they had to be. They had no choice. They couldn't say, hey, this was really painful, or, I, just went through this experience and I, gave labor, and they're back at work the next day. Because if they didn't, then they were complaining. They were, weak. They weren't strong women. And not saying that we want to, not breed strong women, because we all are very strong. And I think that that's part of what our messaging is, and what Sarah, my business partner, and I are very adamant about, is we want to breed strong women. We want women to be in charge of their narrative. But in order to do that, we also have to be aware and educated. So
yes, it's very true. It's very true. And as we're getting into the age where hormonal things are popping up onto our news feeds, I'm assuming I'm getting to that age because I'm seeing these things. I'm assuming my friends are seeing them, and I'm thinking to myself, is it that time? Because I feel so good. And I have a doctor's appointment Thursday with my gynecologist for my yearly. And it would never occur to me to ask her questions because I don't know how it would be received, and I don't want to dislike her. I like her. I go in, she checks my stuff, they send the thing off, do what is appropriate for that visit, and I just tell her how I'm feeling. I am almost always feeling good. I have mostly not noticed anything that I think might be a change, like perimenopause or menopause, that stuff happening. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. I'm almost 43. I know Lilla's talked about some experiences that she's had.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think maybe if you could give us an idea of what some major signs that you are moving into that transition of perimenopause and menopause, and maybe your 25th year high school reunion is in July and you're supposed to be thinking about these things. Like, what are some things? Is it hot flashes? Is our skin going to change? I saw on a reel today that apparently your labia leaves.
Part of
I
it.
saw my mom's, like, not to get graphic, but I saw like 3 years ago. She's in her 60s. It looked pretty much like mine does now. So I'm just wondering, like, how much of it is going to disappear? And, I'm so flabbergasted that I'm actually even having this conversation, y'all. We're not old enough for this.
Well, I mean, you're not old enough until you're old enough, and then all of a sudden it hits, and you're like, oh, wait, is this really happening? Is that, like you said, Kristin, like, am I supposed to be looking for these signs, or is there just like this magical moment where it's like, hey, girl,
Right.
we're here now. It's like, what are the signs? Am I just crazy, or is it, are my hormones making me crazy? Are my night sweats in relation to the new comforter that I'm using, or is my body, starting to fall apart? Like, so these are the things we need to know, Meredith. Help us out, girl.
I know. Well, I think that I do have to, I guess, give a little bit of education and some demographic here. So when it comes to perimenopause, we have to be really thoughtful, because when we start talking about hormone fluctuations, respectfully, as females, we are so lucky that our hormones fluctuate constantly on a daily basis. They will fluctuate from the time we're in our 20s. I always have a hard time saying hormone balance, because I think it paints the wrong picture for women. I think that they expect their hormones are this flat line or this perfectly balanced teeter-totter, when in reality, your hormones are constantly fluctuating. And for a female, fluctuations are actually part of the health factor, because it's those fluctuations that makes you actually menstruate, makes you ovulate, makes the actual changes in your body occur, which is positive. When it comes to perimenopause, those fluctuations are fluctuating in a downward spiral. I think that the majority of people associate perimenopause and menopause being symptomatic. And that's where like Kristin, to your point, there is a lot of confusion, because if we are feeling good and we're feeling awesome, do we want to promote seeking illness? No, I don't think it's about that. I think it is about creating an awareness, though, and the fact that, for example, you don't typically feel osteoporosis until you break a bone. And then you get, that bone mineral density, and you're like, shit, that is going to suck. So I think that this is where I believe that it truly comes into line with taking someone's symptoms, as well as taking what we know as far as somebody's age, and starting to create just awareness about things that could be changing. And this could be for one person, like, for example, you, Kristin, that you aren't symptomatic. This could just be about creating awareness and perhaps doing your due diligence with regards to getting some routine blood work. Start looking under the hood, not from a we're not fear-based, but just saying, hey, where do I stand? What do things look like? For a lot of women in their fees, this is where, for my clients, I actually do recommend them getting a bone mineral density test, because guess what? You're not in your 60s and 70s. So we actually have a really good opportunity to have a good baseline of where things stand, arguably in your most peak of health, which technically is in around your 30s, in your fertility years. And then on the flip side, you do have women that might be like yourself, having hot flashes or night sweats and wondering, like, what in the actual fuck is happening to me?
Right.
Now, respectfully, it could be the comforter. But this is where I think having the conversation and opening up about one small things, like looking at our diet, our lifestyle, looking at our alcohol consumption, looking at how much we're moving or not moving, and knowing that we're ticking these boxes and these boxes are good. And then we start looking at our vital side as a female, which is our menstruation. What's changed about that? Has anything changed? Are they shorter? Are they longer? Are they heavier? Are we having like tons of cramps? Is there anything changing in those? Because you can take symptoms, and one, we can improve them through diet and lifestyle, long as it's not actual hormone decline. But arguably, if it is hormone decline, we need to help support a female hormonally, as well as make sure her diet, lifestyle, and all those factors are into play. So it's a multifaceted kind of situation. That's what's arguably very frustrating, because we have camps of people that are like, hey, it's only symptoms. If you feel great, then fuck it, you're good. Long as you're still bleeding every month, you're healthy.
Right.
But meanwhile, that person who's bleeding every month, their estrogen, their progesterone left the building because they're no longer ovulating, even though they're still menstruating. So they can still be bleeding and have low hormones. Their estrogen's declining. So we're seeing changes in their cholesterol panels. We're seeing insulin rising, which is stepping stones towards diabetes. So we're seeing these major things changes. And this is why for women aging is called inflammaging, right? Because we are starting to see these major changes because of hormones are affecting all those things. So I think that, for the person that's not or asymptomatic, I don't think it's as easy as saying, hey, I'm symptom free, or somebody who's like, I breezed through menopause, no symptoms. Right. But how is your actual underlying health? You may not feel like symptomatic, but how is your cholesterol? How is your insulin resistance? How is your bone health? How is your muscle mass? Because baby, sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, is fucking real. And for a population of humans, women who arguably we've spent our entire damn lives trying to be the smallest humans with the biggest fucking thigh gap as possible, you did not start with enough muscle to begin with. Losing muscle is not doing us any favors. It's a big topic that I'm clearly passionate about.
I mean, and I think that this is where we have to kind of advocate for ourselves as well. And like you said, Kristin, when you go to the doctor, have them run a panel. You're there anyway, you may as well, and not looking for anything, but just to be educated on where your body is right now. Yep. And just to know, because no one's going to advocate for us, especially if you go into the doctor and say, I feel good, I feel great. Of course, I'm not going to say, let's check your bone density, Kristin, or let's check your hormone panels, but why not? I mean, I have yet to go to a gynecologist since I've been home, but I need to soon, because the gynecology world in the Middle East, where I came from, as you can imagine, their only focus is your childbearing years. And then after that, you may as well fall off the earth, because you are no longer, there is, I had friends over there that were Western. One was from Australia, one was from England. And, they were going to different gynecologists, and the gynecologist told them, it's just, it happens. You can't have kids anymore, but, and they had to literally find a gynecologist who was willing to prescribe them a patch and a hormone therapy and all this stuff, because they're, every time I went to the doctor, they would have the conversation with me of, you need to have kids soon. And I told them, I don't want kids. I've never wanted kids. And they told me my husband will leave me since I'm not going to give him children. And I told him my husband doesn't want children anymore because he already has some, and we don't want children. And my entire conversation, instead of addressing, I'm here, I'm not feeling well, my period's off, this and that, they have given me a discussion about, and every time I would leave there and had a whole discussion, defending myself on why I don't want children. And that's all they care about. So especially, I feel like we have to advocate for ourselves. I mean, like you said, some people are asymptomatic. Yeah. Some people get rushed with symptoms, but they don't know what to do with it. And if they go to the wrong provider and they don't have a doctor that's willing to listen and address issues or, things like that, then they're just kind of left out to dry. So I think it's very important.
I was making that face about having the doctor test me because I just won't. I will, and I told Meredith before, I would go, and I'm going to go and have my own hormone panel done. Mm-hmm. I don't want my doctor doing it. I know plenty of people that can read it, that are intelligent enough, that are more open-minded about that kind of thing. With my background in bodybuilding and doing it naturally and being hyper aware of hormones in the performance sense or the fat loss sense, it freaked me out from even ever being on birth control. So just my hormones are unaffected by outside outside influences that I have ingested, or, that I could have injected, or whatever the case, bottles and all the environmental things that I can't prevent, whatever. But when I start, and I've never had my blood work done at all for hormones, I've never had it tested. So I had reached out to Meredith and just said, I would like to get mine tested now while I feel good and have kind of a baseline. But also I know that there's things that can be happening under the surface. Like if you're a client of mine that I used to have, she was about 42, 43, and I can distinctly remember her cholesterol being high, and she couldn't figure out why. And nobody was, she ate very well, and they kept telling her, oh, it's just genetic, it's genetic. But she also had other things going on. She was having these seizures in the middle of the night, and I kept telling her, there's something going on with your hormones. You need to find somebody intelligent enough about hormones that can talk to you about this, because she was a very petite woman. She was lifting weights with me, but had never lifted regularly before that. And, it's one thing, it's just not as easy to build muscle in your 40s as it is in your 20s. You do build it very quickly if you've never done it before, but there's still a slower return when you're a little bit older. But anyway, she was working on that, and we worked on her bone density and things like that. But it never occurred to her doctor that her cholesterol was affected by her hormones, her sex hormones.
Yeah. Perimenopause, having those hormone fluctuations, there's several different times in a woman's life where it's actually like immune changes that are happening. So one of those is really common is postpartum because of those types of hormones fluctuations. So having things like autoimmune, like Hashimoto's, which is for thyroid, that's actually very common postpartum for a lot of women. Most women also, for whatever reason, their physicians are not checking their thyroid levels during pregnancy or after, which that's a whole nother podcast. But for women in perimenopause, because of how estrogen and progesterone, like no hormones work in a box. It's like they all have this great big group text chat, right? And somebody responds, and then somebody's like, oh shit, I missed this text from like you last month, and now I'm chiming in. Like, so it just depends on how these messages are being transferred, who's receiving them, who's really like Johnny on the spot and getting them. And so when we have these changes in perimenopause, it's in a major immune shift, like major. That's why for women, we do see that once a woman is post-menopause or she's in menopause, her disease risk factor for cardiovascular disease is almost the same, if not greater than a man's, just because of that shift that has happened. So even having autoimmune conditions like lupus pop up, Hashimoto's pop up, that's actually getting to be very common for women with regards to this transition in life. And I think that going back to like the symptoms, I think that symptomology wise, most people only associate symptoms being with hot flashes and night sweats. Mood changes, symptoms like just a symptom is lipid changes. So cholesterol panels changing, thyroid hormones changing, as people, I think cortisol face was like a big thing on whatever TikTok and stuff, having that's actually called adrenal health. So having that adrenal response, that also changes. And all of these things is what really affects that woman's body. So even midsection weight gain, guess what? That's a symptom. And that's not just, hey, as a lot of people were saying that women just move less in their 40s. And I'm like, I don't know what fucking 40-year-old women you're talking about, because the women I know are either going through relationships or they're going through a divorce. Their kids are going to college. They still have kids at home. They're now caregivers for aging parents. Like, I don't know. I mean, they're driving, their careers are shooting through the roof. They're shifting careers, maybe going back to school all at the same time. Like, I don't know about you, but the 40-year-olds that I know are hustlers because they've had no choice but to be. So to say or diminish their midsection weight gain to you're not moving as much, like I find that really dismissive. Now, arguably, we also know plenty of people, these 20s, 30s, 70s, that they don't move well. So I'm not saying no, that doesn't fall for no woman, but I don't think that we can put women in a box and say, this is just becoming that. And so not to get off on a tangent there, but all to say that there can be symptoms that people don't even associate as a symptom because it's not extreme. For example, like cramping. So we all here know that a woman having a menstrual cycle cramp, please, that doesn't fucking stop her. She's still going to get through her daily life. She's going to pop some Midol, Advil, whatever she needs to do, like a hustler, and she's going to keep going. It literally will take her to the point of pain that it's causing her to vomit and literally be curled up in a fetal position to not do the things she has to do in life. Guys, that's extreme. That's not typical, but that's how we've been drilled to be. And we are literally that of our 20-year-old self, but now we've had like 20 years of being that deep into it. Now we're in our 40s. So anytime we have a symptom, we have people that depend on us, whether it's kids, loved ones, again, aging parents, grandparents. That what we learned in our 20s about dealing with menstrual cycle pain is now amplified even more in our 40s. Sorry, tangent.
No, totally.
I'm like over here. I track my period religiously. I mean, just of all the health markers that I have ever tracked, and I've been very lucky with all the bodybuilding and everything. I've never lost my period. I assume that's lucky. In my mind, I always just feel like it's better to just be like this, even though, like you said, we're like this while we do.
But having some sort of menstruation, that is a positive sign. Now, can we say she's menstruating, that means her hormone levels are robust? No, we can't, because this is where we can also say that there's a female who's maybe still menstruating and she's arguably like in her late 50s, maybe even early 60s, right? And so this is why just saying that somebody is asymptomatic and they're menstruating every month, it's not enough. And this again goes back to that conversation of like, we're not saying seek illness, but we're also making sure we don't close a blind eye to what could actually be true wellness. So that's kind of how we stand on it. Sorry, guys. Kristin, you're making a funny face.
In my mind, I'm reminding myself to refrain from asking a bunch of questions that will benefit only me because I've got your attention right now.
We have...
I just think about my mom. I think that's who we all refer to and what our mothers went to. Would it be useful to know what our aunts and our grandmothers went through?
So, I'm going to say grandmothers, when we're getting to that level of generation, I'm going to say, I think it's helpful. But I think more so getting to that first generation. So maybe like sister, mother, and aunt. But then once we're getting down the pipe, because we then also have to think of that generation. So for example, a grandparent, that what was her access to care? What was diet and lifestyle like for her that could be influencing, for example, how she went into menopause or even her health risk? And so this is where like, smoking and like, all those things, like we're just like, we're hip and doctors are handing out, cigarettes like candy. Yeah. So I would say more so that first line generation is very helpful. And then asking the question that we were trained never to ask, because I was always taught children should be seen, or women should be seen and not heard, right? Don't want to quote ruffle any feathers is something I was always taught, is to ask why. So for our moms who perhaps, and I don't have the opportunity to ask my mom this, so this is like very like something I do encourage people to do, is when somebody asks their mother, oh, I went into menopause when I was 40, ask questions around that. So is it because her period just stopped at 40? When was her last kid? Was it, I have a client who she had her third child and her cycle never came back. Nobody even talked to her about that it was needed or not, which that is not menopause. And this is why we have to be really careful. That's a secondary amenorrhea. Now, because of her age, we're not looking to jumpstart those ovaries again, but we are looking to ensure that she is protected hormonally for all those age-related things. But asking our parents, asking our sisters what their experiences are or were and why that was. Was it that they had a hysterectomy? Well, absolutely, that's going to change some things.
Right.
Is it that they had their ovaries removed, which having their ovaries removed and not their uterus, like that is very different. We throw the word hysterectomy around and we just assume hysterectomy, even though we don't even really know what organ we're talking about for most people. We just assume that means menopause. Well, you actually can have your uterus and just have your ovaries removed, which for some physicians would call that a partial hysterectomy. Others would call that an oophorectomy. But either way, if your ovaries are gone, you are now in a surgical menopause. Did you have chemotherapy? Like, what were the things that contributed or that you believed contributed to that menopause situation or your experience? So why is a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is so hard because I mean just our food, everything chemically, everything has changed, you know? So having those, you know, what our grandparents went through, even our parents, you know, it's so hard because like I've been on birth control my whole freaking life because of my PCOS and my this and that, you know, maybe someone that hasn't, you know, my mom never took birth control. So like it's so hard to even compare, and she went through some medical stuff. So we wish it was a one size fits all. You know, that at 45 years old on April 14th, this is what's going to happen. These are going to be your symptoms. This is the medicine. But as the female body goes, it is the most complex hormonal, it's just a glorious mess. And it's so hard to like figure out what's what. I loved how you said that all of our hormones are in a group chat. And then sometimes some aren't paying attention and other ones are like, oh crap, I forgot. Let me respond now. And then your body's like, eh. So I'm going to use that with my patients. Yes, that is perfect.
I think you really nailed something that is super important for women. And I think because there is not a lot of information about our women's health. And lately there is this women's health movement, which is beautiful, but also with movements means a lot of information,
Misinformation.
Misinformation. We can end up, and this is normal, like this is not a bad thing, but it's a careful thing, is we can grab onto something as Bible, and I can grab onto, say, like your experience with your health history and say, oh, well, it should go this way. But like you just put it so eloquently when you said, you know, with regards to your history with birth control, guess what? That now makes you and I different. PCO, and I mean, not really, I was on birth control too, but you get what I'm saying. The fact that you, you know, disclose as far as like PCOS, guess what? That also adds a layer, not a bad layer, but just a layer to your unique profile. And I think that when it comes to going to physicians, and part of that fear, Kristin, that you were, you know, talking about earlier, and again, not wanting to ruffle any feathers, comes from like, if Lilla went to the doctor and she would want a discussion about her, like what she is going through and how this applies to her present, her future, not just a general, you're a female, so this is what you need, or this is how your experience should be. Because I don't care who it is, our history, whether it's genetics and like you said, diet, lifestyle, again, medications for hormonal birth control, etc., like all of that is going to play a massive role in how your perimenopause journey and menopause is actually going to play out. This is where the person that I was like, oh, I could do all the things when I was 20. And then all of a sudden, you know, I woke up, and that's because a lot of that stuff is catching up. Now, does it mean that you're like, you know, 1 foot in the grave now? Fuck no, it doesn't. But you have to also say, hey, listen, this may be the time that unfortunately we can't drink like a fish. Fortunately, you know, it's not that processed foods are the devil, but perhaps we need to start having a little bit more single ingredient whole foods in our diet. And do we even know what that means? Because most people will go to the doctor, your client high cholesterol, and they are now told you have high cholesterol means no eggs, no meat, you must be vegan strictly, you know? And that is absolutely just horrendous information. It's fear-mongering information instead of teaching somebody how to eat, teaching them not to be scared of food. Don't just tell them do more, eat less. That is not the answer, because they number one, they can't sustain it. They don't know what eat more or eat less is, especially when they have no concept of what more is. They don't even know what right is. And this is where a lot of people, again, especially women, will jump on a bandwagon that they can't sustain. They're then going to get frustrated. And so that is now going to go into that allostatic load, that bucket of stress of yo-yoing and causing stress onto their body, which guess what? It's not going to make that perimenopause journey any better, right? It's going to be really frustrating. And then they just feel like they've been not listened to. They feel like they've done one more failed attempt. And now you have a human being that actually feels like they're broken. They're not broken. They just never have been, no one spent time with them. No one spent time with them, listen to them, talk to them, let them know that as a, you know, provider, I'm going to meet you where you're at, but we got a long journey, babe. Because you've been doing some fuckery for like 20 years and that's cool now, but it's time we got to buckle up, right? No one has that talk with them. And I think that's really important.
I agree. And it makes me wonder. My mindset has always been, if I'm sleeping good, if I'm getting sunlight, if I'm getting my exercise, if I'm drinking my water, if I'm getting my protein, I'm eating my fiber, the rest of those things will fall into place, which is why I haven't gone digging and been obsessive about blood work and things like that. Even though I know, especially in the competitive world, it's like every 6 months, especially the people that are taking hormones, they're getting tested regularly, and they almost like Jones on it. Yeah. I got my blood work back, man. And it just seemed like a very rabbit hole.
It can be.
Go down. But now that I'm at the age where I know that we know more about hormones now than we did in 2002 when the study came out about estrogen and breast cancer and all of that hoopla around that. And then you start to think about, okay, well, what path am I going to take? Am I going to go to my doctor? No, I don't want to do that. I'd like to go have them tested independently. There are compounding pharmacies.
No. And not everybody does well with progesterone. There is progesterone resistance. And again, if you are taking progesterone and your goal is not to get pregnant, well, we need to have a discussion, because that ultimately progesterone is progestation. And depending on where you are in life, and this is arguably a lot of, not all, but a lot of perimenopausal women are not looking to conceive, right? They're not looking for conception here. They're looking to prevent that. And so giving a female progesterone without a very thoughtful discussion, you could have a 60-year-old woman who is now pregnant very easily.
Wow.
And I'm not saying...
Yeah, it affects the lining of your uterus and the ability for your uterus to prep, baby prep.
I'm not saying that a person who is in menopause, I'm not saying taking progesterone is going to regenerate her ovarian supply of eggs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying for a female who is not at that place, but you have that female who's perhaps still menstruating and she is in her late 50s, absolutely, that can happen. So do not take hormones, bottom line. And for safety concerns too.
Laughing like I would do that shit. I've never.
No, I know you wouldn't. I know
women who would.
Yes. No, there are a lot of, and I just wanted to make very clear that how we all feel about that, because I don't want someone listening to this be like, well, Kristin mentioned something about ordering estrogen, not saying that you were going to do it, but people only hear what they want to hear. And they may have heard from Susan down the street that she got some little pills off Amazon on sale or on TikTok shop.
Do you know the doctor that I'm talking about, Meredith? He's really, really old, and he has a ton of tapes. No, he was one of the only one doing any thyroid research at all in the 70s. I can't remember his name. He's like a pioneer. He has some really cool stuff to listen to. Anyway, you got to know what to take from it and what not. And I'll get his name, but I can't remember it right now. But the ways that he correlated estrogen and progesterone and female hormones to the thyroid in a time when nobody was doing it is insane. So he was getting these creams and giving it to the women in the dosages that he felt was applicable. Anyway, I'll find out his name, but the research is really, really cool that he did. And it basically everything that he was promoting, they found to be true in the last 10 or 15 years. So I'll find his.
I wonder if it's Dr. Bloom. He wrote a book called Estrogen Matters, which is it's an amazing book. I'll say it right now for anybody now. They've actually, the word's not reprised it. They redid the book or whatnot, especially since the whole Women's Health Initiative study has been largely debunked and pulled apart. But Estrogen Matters is a beautiful book for all women, in my opinion, especially because of the fear that was around it for so long. And it's a really nice book. So that's one just plug I will say for anybody who likes books. And I think it's on Audible, I'm sure.
I'm definitely going to listen to it.
Yeah.
I feel
it's a good one. But I do think what you're saying, Kristin, about getting blood work done, I do think it's important. And I think that as long as you have it from a curiosity, that's how I talk to my clients about, let's get curious. If you're not symptomatic, awesome. So for example, you mentioned the thyroid. So looking at someone's blood work, if say someone's blood work is, maybe it's not optimal, but it's not bad, right? So we don't have any serious diseases. Nothing is flagged as low, because a lab range is not necessarily an optimal range. It's of a arguably, unfortunately, a disease population range. But so say that you're not in an optimal range, but you feel great. Do I think that like a lot of the providers I work with, are they going to say, oh, we're just going to drive her thyroid up? So she's like, no, that could make you feel horrible. And so this is where I think that it's like looking at lab work, there's an art and a science to it. And you have to hear the person. You do have to hear how they feel, look at the lab work, and have a true, honest discussion with them about like what you are seeing in relation to them. Point out things. And sometimes it's not about that this is bad, but it's like, hey, this is something we should keep an eye on. There's nothing bad here, but it might be showing that, there's something brewing as far as inflammation or something. So especially for somebody who is just getting lab work for the first time, like we have nothing to compare this on. We don't know, like, is this a bad lab? Is this a good lab? Like, we don't really know if things are arguably okay. It's information. And so that's where I do encourage, for at least most of my clients, having routine lab work at least like once a year to get like a full circle panel. Arguably, like I have clients that, they've been with me for 5+ years. So like, am I running like thyroid antibodies on them every time? No, like, they're good. Normally I say like, hey, you know what? It's been like 2 years since we've done your antibodies. They were fine before. Would you like to run those again? Just to get a pulse on that. They're like, yeah, and we do it that way, as long as there's been nothing flagged. And I think that just getting curious is really helpful. And I think that it gives you information, or us information as women, to make informed choices, because ultimately we can't really do that if we don't have the information around us. With regards to going providers, this is where I think it was you, Lilla, that said something earlier, like we are going to get pushback. And that's something that I tell my clients to expect, but it doesn't mean that it's a no. It's just they said no to you. And then like you said, you can order lab work privately, and which is an awesome thing. You just need to be careful with regards to like who's interpreting that for you, because it can be really scary. And you can be with somebody that's like, oh, we're just going to run all these things and crazy supplements here and there. Like, when arguably that's really not needed. That's my approach, at least when it comes to lab work.
I think one of the biggest issues too is we live in a current state of instant fixes, and women want to be able to go to the doctor, walk out of there 30 minutes later with some type of magic pill that's just going to fix everything. And a lot of doctors, they tell you that, oh, you're going to get on this patch and everything's going to be good. And I think that a lot of us women, men, everybody right now is missing the mark on, like you said, educating, getting curious, actually looking into it, advocating for yourself, and unfortunately, we're having to put some of the pieces together ourselves. We can't go to a doctor and leave there 30 minutes later thinking but that's what we want. We want to go on TikTok and be able to type in menopause and watch 4 2-minute videos and know what the heck to do with our bodies. That is the world we're living in. And especially when it comes to this, when there are so many factors and so many things, and every single woman, no 2 women are going to have the same journey in this. Nobody. It's impossible for 2 people to do this exactly the same, but there's 2 women that want the same quick fix, and they'll go to the doctor and be given this quick fix. And then there they are a year later, like, why is my body falling apart still? Because I've got this patch on, and it's sad, but we have to put in the work. Yeah. We have to continue putting in the work.
And I think that too, recognizing that it's not, like you said, putting on a patch and then you're done. Unfortunately, that is not how the story goes. Like, you're in it. Once you're advocating for yourself, your body changes, and that sucks. And I know that, especially for a lot of women, when they are symptomatic, they just want to be unsymptomatic and be done with it. And for some women, they don't respond. Like if we're talking about hormone therapy, like HRT or menopause hormone therapy, there's so many different modes available. So we're talking about whether it's injectable, whether we're talking about an oral pill, for example, micronized progesterone, whether we're talking about a cream, a patch, an oral troche. Like, there is arguably a lot of options out there that a lot of women aren't even aware of. And not every woman's body does well with every option. And this is where, speaking to the female, and you might have a female that is absolutely petrified of needles, even like a small insulin syringe. So would it be intelligent to put another barrier of fear, and say that this is the only available method, when that's arguably not true? Now, could the provider feel like maybe that is like the best method and that she's arguably going to feel the best? Absolutely. And that's, to me, where, again, providing that providing that information to her and say, hey, you know what? I do think that this is probably going to make you feel the best. It's probably, or it's going to support your body in the way it needs to be if you're asymptomatic. But let's try this other way first. We have other options. That arguably empowers the female to feel she has control over the situation, that she has control over her choice, because she fucking knows her choices now. She knows that, you know what? They said that this one's probably going to be the one, but fuck, I really don't like needles. And I can't do that. I don't have anybody. I don't have a relationship person that's going to do it for me. That's a hard no for me right now. And I'm really nervous about even doing hormone therapy. So, you know what? I'm really glad that they said that I can use this other one. And I know that it might not be the best right now. And I know I might be back here, but you know what? I just want to dip my toes in right now. And I want to try this right now. And I'm going to have my follow-up appointment anyway in 12 weeks. We can re-talk about it. And I can be like, whew, nurse practitioner Sally, babe, you were right. Fuck that. Give me the injections. You know?
Shoot me up.
Yeah, shoot me up. Empowering women that you have the choice. Like, that's like, it builds a confidence in somebody. Like it puts you in the driver's seat of your life. It's fucking huge.
Don't you wonder though? I mean, how much are we supposed to mess with this stuff? How much, like, we have options and we have the science now, but my grandmother didn't have them and she survived. She lived to be 87 and she had a great life. And I don't know. I just wonder how much we should be messing around with these things.
Yeah, I think that that's where it comes down to a personal choice. And I think that, you know, when we're comparing generations, we are a different generation than our grandparents. We want to get onto the, you know, environmental talks and things. We've been exposed differently. Like, I think there was like a spoof or something like on Instagram where people are always like, you know, Gatorade. And they said, yeah, but look at the difference in Gatorade when we were kids. It was like a glass bottle that you could kill somebody with that literally had like, it was actually pickle juice and stuff. And then now it's like, you know, 4 paragraphs. So not to go on a squirrel tangent, but just comparing generations and then
quality of food,
but comparing longevity. You know, for me, it's not about, I guess, anti-aging, but I want to age well. And not every female, which is something we also have to be thoughtful of, has the same story. So for example, I am in menopause. My ovaries were removed surgically. So for someone to say to me that, you know, the argument that, oh, your grandmother was fine, you know, blah, 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 but right, babe, but she had her ovaries and I don't. And my risk factor for cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, and everything fucking else, like doubles that of other females. Like, that's pretty huge. With a lot of people feel like, you know, aging naturally, and they're, you know, for going back to the hormone thing, say that, or they're worried about like, what can I do to avoid hormone therapy and do it naturally? Kind of a thought process I always ask is, you know, they ask me, like, well, what herb can I take? And like, well, you know, arguably, taking an herb like, you know, I don't know, like basil, to help protect your bones, not really natural when it comes to your actual hormones. Like, there is nothing more natural than supplying your body with more hormones. And then my other argument would be like, well, if your eyesight was failing, would you not be okay with wearing glasses? I do think it's a personal choice though. And I do not think that every female should feel pressured that she should decide to be on birth control. She should decide she must be on hormone therapy, but I still think that the choice should be there and that the information supplied to her on the benefits, risks of using or not. And that's with anything, even going back to that birth control conversation, because birth control for us, like, I was just put on it because I didn't have a cycle and it was told it was going to regulate my menstrual cycle, which it doesn't. That's not what it does. You know, for other women, I think it's very life-saving. You know, I had a consultation where a female, when I asked her, because it's important for me to say, hey, like, well, why were you put on this? And she was very honest. She said, because I was not in a safe sexual environment. Well, I'm not going to lecture her about her fucking gut health and how she made a decision, because I don't believe that. In fact, I held space for her and said, I'm really glad that you were provided, you know, some safety and security during that time. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. And so this is where, again, coming back to the individual and saying, hey, you know what? Your grandmother didn't need hormone therapy, perhaps, or maybe it's not that she didn't need it or the information wasn't available, but we are a different society and we're a more evolved society and there's more things available to us readily. I know for myself and other individuals, I just want to make sure I'm aging well. I want to, you know, be that, like you said earlier, that vampire, right? Like I want to age well. I don't want to start having these disease risk factors that I can arguably at least try to prevent. I'm not going to say that starting hormone therapy is not the end all be all. And I hate that too. When people are like, if you don't do this, you know, this is going to prevent everything. And I'm like, no, babe, that's not how it works. Right. Doing it. But it can be life-saving for a lot of people.
Yeah, I get that. And trust me, I don't even know. Like I had brought my grandmother up. She had her last baby at 42 or 43. She was like, she raised me, you know, she just was just a different breed, have a very healthy family in general.
Yeah.
You know, I have aunts and uncles in their 90s, very lucky. But the quality of food, I think, is the major difference. The packaging of food.
Yeah.
We are chemically completely different. If you were to chemically break down a human of today versus someone, especially someone that eats a lot and has grown up on heavily processed foods, look at the lower, you know, demographic of the low income families and stuff like that. I mean, there's tons of research out there on literally their hormone levels are completely altered because of the poor quality and the processed foods and all the insane chemicals that half of them we don't even know about that they're adding to our food. And it's just very different. And if you think, and I always think about this, when we were younger and you thought about a woman in her 40s, when our grandparents were 40, they were like older people, you know, like the women most women, and I'm not saying all, because I mean, my grandma, even on the way to chemo, would have her makeup and hair done. But in general, you know, 50, 60 years ago, a 40, 50-year-old woman was kind of like, we done with you. Like, you're not out, you know, worried about, you know, your glowing skin and what you looking at.
Don't care. High school, so that
absolutely
mentality. Some of that's a mentality.
Yeah, but back then, way less women had a more positive mentality, because once you were 40, 50 and you hit menopause and you weren't, you know, you were kind of just accepted that you were like an older woman. And now, for those of us like us, and I will very confidently say this, we give a fuck. And we want to be healthy and stay young, you know, and look good and take care of ourselves. There are people our age that have let that train sail, let the ship sail, and that, you know, no judgment. Okay. But we now have, you know, the choices. And I feel like back then, a lot of women, like if you saw a 50-year-old woman with her hair and nails and everything done back in the, you know, 50s, or 60s, people were like, you should be at home, like taking care of a grandchild, or like hidden, you know, wearing some like 3D sweater, my favorite, you know. So
I've already talked about my grandma a lot, but I'm going to throw this out there too. In the 70s, my grandmother was playing in piano bars at midnight while her nanny was at home with her babies.
And there we go.
Yeah.
She chose to live.
Yeah.
She chose to live.
Gonna pursue her own dreams while she did the motherhood thing.
So cool.
But yeah, the Golden Girls is the perfect example, I think. They were all so young and they were depicted like these old biddies.
Right. They were literally in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And gorgeous women. I don't even know how they make them all so not unattractive, but look so much older. They really were.
But like women during that time, at that age, that's how they dressed. That's how they carried themselves. They believed, I'm a 50-year-old woman, like it's just time to hang it up. Now, 50-year-old, I mean, my mama is 65 years old and is bopping around here in her little mini skirts and her little knee-high boots, and I'm not bad about it. Go ahead, Rita.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And my mom can still fit into like junior clothes at the, you know, we're at TJ Maxx and she's over in the junior section. Like she's
your whole family genetics is just like insane. Y'all, if you haven't, check out Kristin's dad. Like,
I'm telling you,
freaking,
I'm knocking on wood right now, but I'm so grateful. And I just feel like I'm thankful that I got into fitness at an early age and contributed to the muscle mass that hopefully will keep me from losing bone density as quickly as I get older, because that's a concern. I worry about that with my mother. She's small. She's 5'3", you know, 100. And my mom is a lot smaller than I ever thought about being. She's like 105, 110. I'm begging her to put weight on. Yeah. But she never had any muscle. She did, but not like I've had in my lifetime.
And also to think about, like, going back to, again, that generation, like, having muscle. Like, I mean, y'all remember, like, being in middle school, like, any girl that ever had muscle was, like, teased about being, like, butch and manly and, like, all that stuff. Like, so, like, I mean, it's
They
just
couldn't
crazy.
take it.
So you have to, like, and that's what I think is important to think about. Like,
I can remember specifically, and I'm going to call her out because y'all will know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're going to say.
Yeah.
Two of them. There's two of them.
I do too.
In our class.
Yep.
I know the two.
Yep.
I know exactly who you're going to say.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I can remember one of those little skater fuck boys calling them dykes because they had muscle.
Yep.
And they still look
gorgeous.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, come on, literally goals, you know? And in high school, because literally, and when you said that, I know the exact two people you're talking about. Unbelievable. Like, we used to look at them like,
sick bodies.
What?
Sick.
Because now there are younger, like, if you remember in high school, we didn't really working out and things like that. Like, you know, we were active and you know, like, Meredith, you danced and Kristin, you know, but like people like having gym memberships in high school, you know, it wasn't really that big of a thing.
I can remember when I quit swimming on the swim team, and in high school, and I was still doing the summers team. It was like 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and Kristin Satica got a gym membership. And I had told her, you know, I'm not swimming anymore. I don't feel like I'm as active as I've been. And she was like, oh, you should come to the gym with me. And I was like, the gym? What the fuck do you do there?
Right.
And she was like all into lifting and stuff then. I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, I remember when I got my first gym membership, but it was literally so I could get smaller. I was like, I had my first dance contract and I was like, shit, I'm working. I have a contract. I need to be fucking like smaller. So got a gym membership to that. Was it like the Life Fitness or something on St.
Ladies Fitness Choice? That's where I went in high school. My mom told me I had to lose weight before summer because I was too fat, and she signed me up and made me go. And she made me walk from my house in Woodland Hills to Ladies Choice Fitness Center, and I would walk there, and I would sit in the gym and do nothing because I had no idea what to do, and we didn't have cell phones. She couldn't track me or anything. And I would just sit in the gym so angry that I had to walk home. Literally. Ladies Fitness Girl, hey! Right there on St. Andrews.
Didn't you live over there off of St. Andrews too, Meredith?
I lived over down Harbison. So I don't want to name drop, but like, yeah. So down Harbison, like by like the Harbison Rec Center area. You know yeah, the Harbison Forest. Like I lived down in there. Yeah.
Okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I will actually name drop Ryan Thomas, Nathaniel. He lived near me. I'll never forget that. Good times.
Oh, good times, y'all. We're all like reminiscing different things right now about high school moments. Like all of us are like.
Do you remember there was like, I don't know if it was like 8th grade into 9th grade. Ryan Thomas went from being like Ryan Thomas to like he got his license a year before everybody else, and he was having
because he was like 25 years old, but like right. Right.
Summer. He had a beard and people were partying at his house. And I'm like, what's here?
All right.
Sorry, buddy. We're just kind of name dropping you all.
Okay.
I'm still.
So yeah, this was amazing.
I'm still. It was. I'm gonna
fixations.
Yeah, text it to me later.
I'll find it, but
Kristin, I really think you should break this into 2 because no one's gonna listen to an hour and change about this. But I think.
You literally say that every time, and I don't have enough to do that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just feel
I'm always like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's not that much. We have less than an hour of us talking right now.
Oh, great.
But, so yeah, it's never quite as much as you think it is to split it.
I just feel like we just be talking so much.
And yeah, they do listen. I listen to like 2-hour-long podcasts.
Yeah,
Rogan's podcast is like 4 hours.
Yeah, but that's different.
They don't have
it's like all
at one time. You know what I'm saying? You worry too much.
I am. I'm the worrier. Everybody knows this.
I'm so glad we did this. I do have one more question. And y'all will understand this because you work with women. And just as somebody that worked with the general population, I mean, I really concentrated on children, teens, and then the senior citizens were often given to me, especially when I was like a lot younger, and I was in the Silver Sneakers program and was teaching those types of classes inside the gyms, which are so rewarding, by the way. Those are like the best. I feel like I don't have the tolerance for oh, I don't like that. Like you said that, if I know every woman doesn't like weight training, I don't give a fuck. I don't actually give a fuck if you like it or not. Do you like brushing your teeth? It's not my favorite thing to do. I don't love flossing, but I still do it every day. I just got really tired in the coaching space of hearing reasons and excuses as to why people were unable to do things that I was capable of getting done every day. Because I'm not a superhero. I might have a lot going on, and people say, oh, you get so much done, or you do this, or I don't know how you do all this. Well, because I want to. And I'm not willing to break promises to myself. So the second somebody starts talking about they want to change something, but they don't like this aspect of, I lose complete and total interest. So y'all, hats off to y'all.
I think that, I mean, Lilla, you could speak to this. I think that that's the ultimate goal. But we also know that change, it took a lot for a person to come to us in the first place. And I do want to at least give them a shot and not let them get so overwhelmed and frustrated with all the new things all at once. I mean, fuck, if you like Zumba, baby, like, do Zumba.
Zumba away.
I played the game. Right. I'm telling you, I get it, and I was the one. I'm the one. They're bringing new trainees that are afraid of this and they're intimidated. I was the one. I'm gonna walk you through this. I'm gonna hold your hand, but that shit got so fucking I couldn't do it anymore.
I think,
but Kristin,
don't call me. Call these women.
I feel like, Kristin, I know you're not a superhero, but you are a badass bitch, and you are one of the most determined. I mean, when you set your mind, just like the magazine, just like weight training, I mean, everything you've ever done, you just do it. A lot of people just don't have that. And it's very easy for someone like you know, like I remember last week you said, well, I mean, it's stuff that I went through and I got over it. And you did, and you are a badass bitch for it. But a lot of people do not. Those coping mechanisms, they don't have, they've never in their life pushed themselves, you know, and to just expect them to wake up and be like, okay, you want to get healthy, then you have to work out 5 days a week. And I expect you to do this. And if you're going to bitch about it, then, you know, and it's like, some people just, they shut down and they just, and instead of that motivating them, like, oh, well, you know, Kristin did it, or I see my friend doing it, so I can do it. It makes them feel like I can't do that anyway, so I'm not even going to try. I come across that so much every single day. I mean, I was on the phone with a lady for an hour and 10 minutes today, and she's like, I'm quitting. Nothing's working. I'm like, you've been in the program for 20 days, you know? And she's like, yeah, but I'm dieting and I'm exercising and did it. And she was just going on and on and on. And she was like, I'm going to talk to my therapist about this, because I think this is bad for my mental health. And I'm like, lady, I'm just asking you to eat some fibrous vegetables. Like, come on, girl.
That woman will never achieve her goal body.
And she won't.
Marker. She won't.
And she won't. And she won't. I know.
Quick fix in a year from
absolutely
somebody else a lot of money to tell her the exact
absolutely
are.
Absolutely.
And
some people just aren't. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to get them to that point. There's nothing. I could magic and nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's where the line.
Therapist.
Yeah, I think that's the line with coaching. And I think that that's where arguably we have to hold a line. So I do try to meet my clients where they are, because like Lilla said, like they all haven't had the experience. Like I remember growing up dancing, like my mom told me like when I was 12, if I wanted to travel to LA, I had to book my own plane ticket. I had to get out there. I had to find the transportation. Like if that's what I wanted to do, right? That's, if I asked my mom a question, this ages me really. She's like, there's the encyclopedia. Go find the dictionary. We didn't have iPhones back then, guys. You know, like I had to find those answers, but arguably not everybody had those influences in their lives. But I do agree. I cannot, and I'm sure Lilla's the same way, like I cannot do it for somebody. I will not do it for somebody.
You're right. You can't.
I'll give them the information. I'll teach the man how to fish. If he doesn't fucking want to fish,
I can't make him fish.
Yeah.
I can't make him fish.
You can't. And I had some I loved being a coach in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong. But just listening to some of the disclaimers that you say before information, or it's like, well, I know everybody can't do this, blah, blah, blah. I just, in my heart, in my soul, know that if you want something bad enough, you will make it happen. And until then, you are literally just talking, and it's for other people's benefit.
Yep.
Not your own.
And it's for you to avoid having to do the hard things. And some people will never, ever, ever do the hard things, because life is hard. If you want to achieve things, it's hard. You have to commit. You have to change everything about you, how you think, how you eat, how you whatever, you know, and people just aren't willing to do that. Some people will never, ever, ever, ever do it. And what can we do?
My friend,
you
like
know, and it's sad.
years, and she was having the high cholesterol, and I'm telling her, I think it's hormonal. You need to have your sex hormones checked. She's telling me, well, I've cut down on my drinking and the alcohol. They don't register that because that's another reason I've been successful in any health endeavors is I'm not a drinker. I've never been one.
Mm-hmm.
Effects on your hormones as far as that go, I'm sure Meredith could
Oh my God, yes.
episode on.
Huge.
But just this is where we can all take this topic and this conversation. So I'd like to do that in the future, Meredith, if you are down to come back and let us pick your brain. But thyroid, cortisol, I know enough about them in a bodybuilding sense or in a competition prep sense as far as what we're trying to manage or balance or mitigate at certain times. But to think about your overall health picture, I don't have as large of a view for that. So I think it would be so fun to talk about thyroid deeper and get into cortisol and how it affects us and our sleep cycle. I mean, just,
Absolutely.
And I think we need to address alcohol.
Absolutely.
I don't think people have any idea about what alcohol actually does to your body.
And they don't.
And it's not just getting drunk, but just
they don't know
it's insane, especially women.
Yeah, and they don't know what moderation is. My favorite line is, I drink it in moderation, or I do this in moderation. I'm like, you have no idea what moderation is. Your level of moderation is so skewed. It's ridiculous. Having 5+ drinks a week is not moderation, baby. Right. Not moderation.
Right. I accidentally stopped drinking in January. We did dry January, then just never drank again. And I drank for the first time this weekend. And I mean, I think I had like a glass of wine last weekend at the wedding, but I drank and I was like, what? Yeah, this is why I don't drink. And it's just not my thing. I just don't enjoy it. And I wake up and I'm swollen and my body's falling apart, but that's for the next podcast. So yeah.
Well, we'll do it. I really enjoyed this. You're so freaking smart about this stuff.
Ditto to you guys. This was awesome. And I would absolutely love to come back. It was so chill and just easy chatting with you guys. Okay.
All right. I think that is it for us today, guys. If you would like to catch up with Meredith, you can find her at
Mere.Paci. That is on Instagram. And also our business is at fortify_health_coaching is on Instagram as well. And we do have a website that has tons of free PDFs. So talking about a menstrual cycle checklist, what is considered abnormal bleeding, talks about why that could be. There's tons of blogs on perimenopause, low estrogen, gut health, you name it. That's www.fortify-
Perfect. And Lilla, you got anything you want to say?
No, I'm good. Okay. This has just been amazing. I love it.
I would also encourage any of the coaches, fitness coaches, nutrition coaches, personal trainers that are listening. I know there are a few of you out there. Meredith is a great resource for anything hormonal, anything to do with pretty much anything internal in the body. And she has a very good grasp of nutrition, and just reach out to her if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more about what they do. You guys can find anything Shaken and Stirred at cocktailsmag_. That underscore really irks me. And yeah, we're definitely going to have Meredith back. We will see you guys next week. Tell all your friends. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and go get your copy of the magazine.
Yay. Bye, guys.